Dobrý večer, dovolte mi.
Good evening. I would like to welcome the authors of this show, Nikolaj Khalezin and Natalia Kaliada. We saw a very strong play that is based on a documentary story, on a story based on reality, and therefore I would like to ask my first question in connection with how you grasped the story. How did you work with the material at hand, and how did you develop it into a theater play? The protagonist, Ms. Krasovska, is godmother of our young daughter. She is our friend, and the material has been derived from interviews given over a period of 9 years. For 9 years, we were coming back to our conversations with Irina, and moreover, in my, so to say, previous life, I was a journalist, while Natalia was active in social work. So we examined the entire story, the entire case, and we ultimately came to the understanding that it must be turned into a theatrical play, not about power, not about how power kills, murders. It should be a piece of theater about a love story between a woman and a man, about these two people who were striving for a beautiful life together, but at a certain moment an external force interfered with this desire and destroyed everything, disturbed everything. So this is a story about how to cope and how to come to grips with the past and with the criminal power in the past, which does not, this criminal power does not give any thought to what's going on within a family. They do not care about this. So this was a very demanding work. Prior to staging a play, you need 3 to 4 weeks to complete everything. But before we got to that stage, we had to go through very difficult periods of hard work, but I believe that we have been successful in describing the story of Irina's life. Okay, so you said that you collected materials over a very long time. This play premiered 6 years ago, that is in 2008, if I'm not mistaken. What happened in the meantime with the story of Irina or other people who had suffered a similar fate, and what impact did the play have? You premiered it underground in Belarus. What was the impact of the play and what followed after you first staged it? This piece of theater had 3 fates. One fate is beautiful because it traveled all over the world. It was produced in a number of countries. It was reported about in the media. So this is a beautiful story. The second story is less beautiful and more problematic. especially when it is staged in Minsk. It is always underground. We cannot even hire a hall. We have to produce it in flats, in clubs, in cellars, in basements. Wherever possible, the audience consists mostly of young people who cry, who discuss it, etc. This is a less beautiful side of this play, but it is filled with more content. It is filled with emotions of viewers, of spectators who look at the stage and think about what's going on in their country. And the third line are interactions of this play with Irina. Irina had a chance to see the play, and she saw this piece, but when we repeated the performance, she was never able to re-watch it again. She was never able to watch it when we produced it in New York and in other places because it was so emotionally strong. In the meantime, she got married to an American, and she tried to come to terms with this story, but it is not possible. And the story and history is open. There is a number of witnesses. There is a number of groups. We know exact names of people who were involved in this thing going on, and all that we need is a change in the government. I openly admit that when we watch this play, I cannot help shedding a tear. This is because these people are next to us, like daughter of Lev, who is mentioned here. It is a wound that never heals. It is not possible to have a peaceful attitude to this play. Even though 15 years have gone by, the situation is no easier because this is about murder, about infamous murder. And those who are guilty of it were never punished. They live their lives, they receive awards, Russian, Belarusian, they receive awards of the Russian Orthodox Church. And this hurts.
I have a question concerning the theater now. This decision you've taken concerning the shaping of the story of Irina and Anatoly, why have you decided that theater is the tool to tell the story? Why was it theater? Why not something else, something different? And another question which is linked with this, what is the number of this performance of the Belarus Free Theatre, and what other things have you done? Have this play changed the manner in which you are presenting theater pieces, or did it influence the way you operate? I don't know the answer to the first question. You will answer. And the second question I can answer. I don't remember which is the number of tonight's performance. We started with the theater with a piece called 4/8. It was Psychosis, a piece of Sarah Kay. And it has nothing to do with the situation in Belarus, be it the literature, political life of Belarus. It was a story of the development of a women mentality, suicidal thoughts, sexual minorities, etc. And from the very beginning, this piece has been forbidden, was forbidden. Director was a friend of us from the National Theatre, and he was forbidden to show it, to stage it. And then we met and we've agreed that it will be a first underground performance. We visited 27 different locations in Minsk, but they refused us everywhere because they said that problems like suicide or sexual minorities is an issue which doesn't exist in Belarus. And if the Belarus audience was to watch it, maybe they would suffer mentally. So that was a reason to refuse the staging. And it was similar to the situation in the Soviet Union, which would always claim there is no sex. And it means that such problems are the problems of Britain. It's not an issue for Belarus. And Belarus is in the first 5 countries in number of suicide. It ranks second in Europe in numbers of suicide. And all gay parades are this ended in 15-20 minutes, and people are abducted and they are threatened to be beaten. So that is a real situation. And when we started our work, we made first a list of taboo issues in Belarus. And so we had this list of all taboos in our country, and for each main taboo issue, we found 5 other branches, 5 other linked issues, and we have also agreed that each piece we are going to perform will be on one of these taboos, like abductions of political prisoners, etc., because now it is problem number 1 in our Belarus society. And today we hear that Belarus is not the last dictatorship in Europe anymore, because we see what is happening in Russia. But we, on the contrary, say that Belarus is already Euro-Asia, and today, on the 16th of November, this issue is very topical. On the 16th day of each month, we remember the date when Natalia and Viktor Goncharov were abducted. And what we play today, it is really happened incidentally that we today have the same date when these people were kidnapped and murdered, and we would like to speak not only about those 2, but also about those who are political prisoners. Next year we should have the so-called presidential elections, and we have one of the presidential candidates of previous elections in prison. So we will continue to use theater as a mechanism. It will be that place where we say what we think, when we want to, who we want, regardless of the consequences. we have to face. For instance, our actors are not allowed to fly directly. They must use different lines so that there is no suspicion that we are leaving the country, that the whole company is leaving the Trumpies, or the members of our company use different flights, for instance. You have a different story to tell? In reality, this is a justified question. The truth is that we are not doing political theater. I am sure that after Brecht died, there is nothing like a political theater anymore, because people working in theater are not allowed to declare political thoughts. We make topical theater. We only show what's happening around us. And if there is a story, we have to tell it. It's something like pregnancy. There is something getting life inside you. It may be an article in newspapers or novel, and so there is this beginning, this germ, and something begins to grow. And if you are not going to tell the story, you may go mad. We live in a country which is a dictatorship for more than 20 years by now. And in a dictatorship, you have a high number of low, indecent things, and at the same time, you hear a lot of strong stories, stories of love, courage, humane acts. And there is a lot of these positive things under dictatorship. And then you make your choice and you try to show what needs to be told. It's 20 years now. Many books have been written, documentaries were made. But I think that the real story of Belarus haven't been told yet. Nothing like the story of Czechoslovakia during the transition process, or a story similar to the Polish story at the times of Solidarność. And there are many stories to be told. Take the elections of 2010. A young man gets imprisoned. He becomes a political prisoner. And his girl is imprisoned in another prison, KGB prison, and they are in neighboring cells. And then they are brought before a court. And they are not allowed to meet. And this takes several years. And finally they meet, they get married, and immediately they have a child. And you start to understand this road they had to walk to meet, as if they were two magnets which have to overcome resistance, and then they meet. And there are many such stories of people saving each other, helping to hide someone, to smuggle out of the country. This is a situation very similar to the situation of the Second World War, when people were hiding Jews. You would think that this can't happen anymore in Europe, but it's happening. And why theater? It is because we are theater people. We are a theater. And so the question is not why theater, but the question is why do we have to talk about it? After this play, we prepared other plays, and Volodya Sherban, our partner, who worked on other pieces, and I also made plays about the death penalty, and we played it all over the world. And the last piece is about ecology, but in fact it is about people who find themselves in extreme conditions, which are linked also to the environment. And now we work on another Belarus piece, a new story, because there is a new story which matured. It's a story of 3 young girls who were imprisoned by KGB during the presidential elections. And the third girl, a young activist, is active in social life. The second girl is a journalist and the wife of the main opposition candidate for the presidential post. And the 3 women are in KGB prison, and 90% of the prisoners and the guards are men. And these women go through a hell. It's a nightmare. They are in cells without a toilet, and they can go to a toilet only twice a day, 6 o'clock in the morning, 6 in the evening. They eat, but nobody knows what it is. And the girls ask for cosmetics when they are in prison, and their parents and their husbands don't understand why they ask this. And then they say, after they got free, in the morning we had to wash, but we have to look nice, we have to be attractive when we are interviewed, and the interviewer, the investigator, has to see them in the same shape as they were always. It's an incredible story. They went through incredible situations, but they wanted to look nice despite all that.
And we were helping them to leave the country without papers. Now one of them is the leader of the largest Belarusian site in Poland, in exile. We are again pregnant with this story of 3 girls. And it is also going to called The Time of Women. The story says that Belarus today goes through a period that may be called a time of women, not the time of men. I believe that it's only women that can protect us from war and from these crazy things that we are heading towards. So this is a statement about the world in Belarus, and we feel an urgent need to spell it out. In your story, in your play, in addition to the story of Irina, there was also a mention of the story of Popelushko, the priest who was murdered at the beginning of the 80s. Was this story also important for Irina, or did it appear in your play for some other reasons? I believe there was another reason. When we were dealing with forced disappearance of people in other countries, it was quite clear that also in Poland, the Catholic Church played an important role in the defense of human rights. While the situation in Belarus is identical with that we experienced under the Soviet Union times, the church is not separated from the state. Like, for example, the church has a license to sell alcohol and cigarettes. This is a great business for the church. I have in mind the Orthodox Church. Orthodox Church awards a prize to the leader of the death squad that abducted people. This is a prize for spiritual development. That's how it's called. It means that we also had a duty to address moral issues in society in order to enable the spectators to watch such games. And perhaps it will make people think about the role of certain institutions in our country that currently play a passive role, sometimes even a negative role in our society. Like in every play of ours, we made an attempt at pushing certain layers, certain groups of society to perhaps behaving in a different manner, but we have not seen any results. I could speak about the activities of Protestant Church in Belarus, which makes certain efforts, but it is difficult to say the same about other structures. In fact, in our plays, we always proceed from the general to the specific, or the other way around, from the specific to the general. When we speak about Irina and Anatoly and about all those deceased persons, we are curious about how people in other countries reacted. This is a special topic for a study because it is an extremely interesting story. When we were preparing the play with Popolushka, we discussed the case of Ingrid Betancourt, which is a lady who had been kidnapped by drug lords in South America, and this is also a story relevant for our play. 2 days prior to the first night, suddenly a miracle appeared and Betancourt was released. This is why we discarded this part of our play, because potential spectators prayed successfully to have Betancourt released. Also, another victim that was murdered in Chechnya was added to the play because potential spectators could not pray for the release of this particular person. Authoritarian regimes in maybe also in your part of the world are saying that politics is a dirty matter, that you should focus instead on art, on beauty, and ultimately you will end up with some bullshit, because we play harps and remain clean and beautiful, but politics is left to the politicians, and which is because politics is a dirty game. And if an economist or another person sees that he is portrayed in a film as a bastard, and he's ready to even kill the author. And they are very much afraid of being portrayed in this manner as they really are. So this is the area of art which provokes intensive social discussions. This is why we are not proponents of this so-called clean art. We want theater to be the essence or to reflect the essence of life. We are not trying to give answers, but the other way around. We are trying to ask questions. Is there anybody from the audience who would like to ask a question?
If there is no microphone given to the speakers, the interpreters cannot hear it. So the answer now. We have a permanent company, a large group of actors, and it's a burden for our actors, because sometimes when we had such a possibility of playing more frequently in Minsk, and our actors would play several pieces in one night, and it was always the same set of actors, and other actors don't really be so enthusiastic to join us, because when they contact us and we explain to them, you become a part of the Free Theatre company, the consequence is that you lose the possibility to study, to work. When you go to apply for work, you won't be given it. You may have home searches, you may be arrested, you will be put on a blacklist or imprisoned. And today we have a very good production manager, Suraga, and she is a great rock singer, and she was in prison, but she is still with us, and she organizes our activities in Belarus. And basically all members of our company were imprisoned. All still play. And we have also students of theater art. Nikolaj, Vladimir and me lecture to new student groups, and it's a very interesting situation, because when students come to us, we always tell them that they are going to lose everything and that they will face problems, huge problems, and usually after 2 years, 1 or 2 are still with us from the original group we have taken on board. So we are not a small group anymore. We have some 30 people, including an international component. But we are a traveling theater company, and we are considered to be a large one. But we say we are only 30 in all Europe who play underground under conditions of dictatorship, and probably such a theater is necessary not only for us. When we visit a democratic country, then In our website, we had something saying that the free theater will continue to live only in times of dictatorship in Belarus. But when we traveled abroad, we have realized that free theater must exist all the time, because sometimes we see that the problems of a democratic social order are more difficult than ours. A part of your company is underground, a part is in exile. How do you cope with this situation? We have 4 people in exile. Vladimir Sherbin is a person we worked together for 10 years. Me and Oleg are the lead, and all the other members are from Belarus. We have 2 methods of work. We use Skype as a medium of communication for preparing new pieces. And this new piece about the 3 women who were in the KGB prison will be also broadcast and prepared via Skype. And then we have also residents in Cornwall in England, where we come, and there we stage our pieces. Doing it by Skype is quite difficult, maybe not so difficult, but it is all the time the same, a bit to the left, a bit more to the right, with the camera, and the screen is not big enough. Or people don't hear, or and when people are not, I don't know, satisfied, they say, I can't hear, I can't hear. And we would sometimes rent a house where we had it, and some 60 people could come in, but we were taken it away. They have taken 60 visitors to our pieces, and we will try to find new ways, like online broadcasting of our performances. First time we reached out to 25,000, the second time to 40,000 people. And this means that when the regime thinks that they damaged us by taking away the house for 60 audience, the consequence was that they damaged themselves more.
I'm Haris Pašović. I'm a theater and film director from Sarajevo, Bosnia, and I'm artistic director of East West Center in Sarajevo. So I'm so happy I saw some of your pieces in New York several years ago, and I'm happy to see you again with your fantastic company. You are the brave ones, as you know. You know that you are brave, but we know as well. And it's such a phenomenon, actually, that one artistic group, one theater group, keeps the focus on the country that has been overlooked by everybody. That if it's not for you, probably most of the world wouldn't even mention the word Belarus. And in spite of the fact that it is in Europe, it's the black hole. And it's very strange that, Europe, as you know, it's so sensitive about democracies and to teach other people democracies. But when Belarus comes into question, then suddenly there is a big silence about it. So if you show how the artists have to tell the truth, that's our duty. That's what we are paid for. That's our call, and it is absolute phenomenon what you do. It's also so ironic that Great Britain gave you the opportunity to work, the same Great Britain that gave the same opportunity to Pinochet. So, but as long as you can work there, I'm happy with that. I can live with that. So thank you very much for what you do, and keep doing that, and we are with you. Even if you don't know that, we are with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Очень жаль, но это правда.
I'm sorry, I have to agree with you. What is really good is that Pinochet was no longer able to stay in England. And this story of Belarus in Europe is really such. Now it is very pleasant to pretend that Belarus is not a European state. Only God knows where it is located. When people ask you where you're from Belarus. Belarus, where is it? And it has really become an interesting part of Europe. In the past, when one of the major decisions was being taken concerning economic sanctions against Lukashenko, all of a sudden it was Slovenia that blocked a comprehensive solution to this issue. And we asked why? Why did you block the decision? Well, the answer was because we are building a hotel complex there, and we already invested 150 million there. Still $150 million. One person said, I could push my business, and I could purchase Slovenia. This is a very strange situation, because it is very easy to teach Ghana or Burma how to live, but when next to your door you have a situation where one person has been doing anything he wants for 20 years. We have two daughters, one is 15, one is 20, and they never had an opportunity to take part in free elections. They have never seen anything else. They only know that during their entire life, the person in power is Lukashenko. This is unreal. And, for example, there are even things that we cannot discuss at home, because there are always questions, why is it so? Belarus is a shame on the face of Europe. This dictatorship could be removed in 1 month by Europe, or maximum in 2 months. The dictatorship in Belarus could be removed, and thus there would be no dictatorship in Europe. But simply this decision didn't go through because there was this business deal to be completed, and therefore they negotiated with Lukashenko and blocked the decision. Then it was joined by Ukraine, then Russia, and what resulted was a triumvirate of 3 fools, inhabited of 200 million people, and it was really a shameful thing to do. And now we can only think about the consequences of that ignorance. During the entire 20 years, Russia only further developed Lukashenko's methods. When Lukashenko introduced something, it was introduced 2 years later by Russia. Equally, like in the former Soviet Union, it was a practice to chase out all the dissidents from the country. And there is yet one more topic that we are going to deal with. It's a relationship between Russia and Ukraine. We have a number of data or information about the situation from our friends or those who are actually engaged in fights. And this is really a very bad situation because many things are being hidden. We cannot only speak about the downing of an aircraft. There are also thousands of victims, and the situation as it is today can grow at any time to unprecedented dimensions. In the meantime, Putin built 3 military bases in Belarus. There used to be no such military base before. Why is he doing it? And he is doing it in the recent period. What does it mean? Is a new front going to be opened against Ukraine, this time from the north? This would again be a terrible situation where soldiers would get killed, but this time including European soldiers. This is really a black view of the situation, but thank you for your support. I would like to ask you a question concerning your work in Belarus. How do you organize your performances? How does it work? How is it possible to get information about the performance, and how is it possible to disseminate information about such performances? Usually,
но она идет очень...
We use social networks to publish some information, but we gave a very short description of the name of the play, the phone number of our manager, and when you dial this number, you leave your name and you are called back, you are told where to meet. You are asked to bring your ID for the case you would be apprehended. You arrive to the place agreed. You will be taken to the place where the play is performed. We cannot use the common advertising media, so we use these confidential channels so that we are able to play. It's very difficult, it's very complicated, because it happened that even though our managers agree a location, the location is then visited by KGB and tell the people there that if they allow the Free Theatre to perform, they will be taken license away. And it has also happened recently. We have seen such a raid when we played Chaika, the Seagull by Chekhov, and police officers came and said that it is not possible to play anti-government plays and that they will not help to organize the second Maidan. I think that Chekhov would be really proud of hearing this, that his piece Seagull could result in a change of the social order. So it is indeed a very complicated history with our game, but we had a great teacher and a friend, Václav Havel. We are proud of it. We know of stories when Pavel Landowski and Kromosova played Macbeth in flats in Prague, or when they have to perform as a side event of a wedding. We had such a wedding already. The bride and the bridegroom met each other half an hour before the wedding. So we had this event and we played in a forest. It all looked like a wedding. Even the police came, but they didn't understand anything. They saw the bride, the bridegroom, and vodka and everything which belongs to a wedding. So they have come and asked. So they came and asked, "What does it mean?" And so the answer was, our guests are poor actors and they had no money to give us a real gift, so they perform. And we have a lot of performances like this in restaurants we rented, in cafes. And 10 times we played a piece in a bistro. It is covered by a cloth, just opposite the KGB building, and the police would come, check what's happening, and we acted our pieces, but they didn't understand that what we do. They didn't understand that opposite the building we do this. But the school of old dissidents can be translated into new age, and then you learn a new technology of fight. It is without an end, it's endless. It will happen all the time if somebody wants to stop people speaking. Now we have this new piece called The Time of Women, and we will play it only in flats. We are not going to rent anything. Flats will be the stage. In other countries you have a normal stage, but in Belarus it's not more than 20 people in the audience, and not more, but 20 people is something we are able to organize, and we can make an online transmission, so several thousands of people are able to see it. I think that the government, not us, will have a hard life. Are there any more questions? We are sorry, but there is no sound in a microphone. We play in Belarus and in Russian and in English, even in Swedish. We use different possibilities. We had one piece where we used 5, 6 languages, and our previous piece, called Price of Money, was performed in English, Russian, and Belarus. King Lear in Belarus. The following piece will be in Russian and Belarus. And we had other pieces that were only in English. We have a very complex structure. We have actors from Great Britain, Italy, Canada, Belarus, Australia, and US, the Netherlands. We have a very large company, and we use more often English as a means of communication in our team, and some pieces, like the future one, will be in Russian and Belarus. But in general, the situation is becoming a multilingual situation.
Можно видеть спектакль на интернете?
В интернете?
Is it possible to watch your play on the internet? Yes, when we have a live stream, it is possible, but only on certain days. When we play abroad, then we announce on our site the play. We have a very simple location. It's the address is very simple, and you can watch it. We most often play in London, and together with our actors, we plan to broadcast a large number of plays in November next year. It will be the 10th anniversary of our theater. Moreover, in 2015, we'll have presidential elections, and we'll play a lot in order to support our spectators inside Belarus. And what's interesting is that it will be the time when parliamentary elections will be held in the United Kingdom. It's our second home. And these elections will be connected with many public discussions. We believe that it is necessary to explain our British audiences that we have to cherish, we have to really appreciate the freedom of choice, and we will explain that we will have to fight in order to change the situation in our own country rather than waiting for anybody else to do it. In many countries, there is a trend that everything is financed by large corporations, and that irrespective of elections, nothing changes. But we are of the opinion that it is at least possible to change the face of our country, because we are dealing with the same face for 20 years. And a new face could also give the opportunity for a systemic change. We are trying to explain this to our young viewers in the United Kingdom. Grasp the opportunity while you have it. So our plays are going to be produced both in the United Kingdom and also elsewhere in the world. We live in a market situation, in an international context. Our plays are produced and played, and not all of them can be played on the internet, or this would be against the rules, or the festivals would be against it. But all the plays will be taped, recorded, and they will be thus stored for the future. We would like to make this heritage accessible, to make it present in the information field. As regards the freedom of choice mentioned by Natasha, in some countries, where a new face appeared like that of Putin, they begin to understand that this infection penetrated also into the European Union. Like, for example, Comrade Orban, you yourself here were able to take this decisive step and to do away with Mečiar. But if you continued to have a Mečiar up to these days, if you go to the office and you have Mečiar's picture hanging on the wall, and you would remember nothing else but Mečiar, maybe there had been something different before, but from what you remember, it's always been Mečiar. He'll be here forever. And when he dies, he will be replaced by his son. This is our situation. Lukashenko's son is 11 years old, and already now he is a copy of his father. For example, when they meet with the Pope in Rome, the young son of Lukashenko gives a gift of a grammar book or a reader book to the Pope. Lukashenko, being the head of our Belarusian gang, is using also a funny language, the same as Putin, and the funnier is the language they've been using, the closer is their farewell, or is our farewell to them. At least we hope so.
Vyzerá to,
It looks like
Ну что, предпоследний вопрос. Самое время.
that this could be the last question, or there is still time for a last question. So if there is no last question, I may say that there is a very interesting document about the Belarus Free Theatre called Dangerous Acts. You could watch it if you got interested in the work of this theater company and the way of life which is so demanding, so difficult, respectful. And this advertisement could be the end of a very nice evening. May I thank you for the peace, for the performance, the discussion, and I wish you a lot of power, strength for future production. Don't think that I want to sound too sweet, but we admire Slovakia. We have two reasons. One is the people, because even before we've come here the first time, even before that, we got to like your ambassador, incredible person, good sense of humor. We never spoke about politics because everything was clear, even without words. We were only telling jokes, and that were the people through which we learned Slovakia. The second reason for our love with Slovakia is the cuisine. You have excellent cuisine, believe me. Thank you very much. And we will be happy, and we are always happy to come here. Thank you.